So welcome, YouTubers. This is budgeting for motorcycles and just life, basically. With me, I have my friend Marta, who is the creator of Budget Maven, and she has kindly decided to help us out with budgeting today. And the reason being is times are definitely tighter now than they have been in the last few years for a lot of us. And I think it's going to be awesome to go through a budgeting exercise and seeing how we can use this tool to help us afford the parts we need and keep our bikes on the road and do cool things on motorcycles. Marta, why don't you start by telling us who you are, what you do, and how you came up with this idea?
Yeah, sure. So I am Marta. I don't want to say like the budget maven because I want everyone to become a budget maven at some point. I kind of came up with the name because I was just trying to figure out, I was like, like I feel like I am more of an expert, but like I want to like make this successful for everybody so that they can also feel the same. So I felt like it was a really, really good fit. But anyway, an accountant by trade, came up with the idea during my maternity leave. Just started working on this little passion project so that my brain wouldn't turn into mush. And yeah, I kind of kicked it off summer of 2022. Had my first sale when I was at the family cabins. I was like, yeah, this is happening. This is really exciting. People are buying in. And yeah, it kind of took off last year and certainly trying to put some more gas on the fire this year. I feel like, especially with times of the inflation, cost of living, it's just such a great time to get started on your budget journey. The template that I had created is based on the 50-30-20 principle. So trying to do like 50% for needs, 30% for wants, 20% for savings and debt.
Hmm.
Obviously, for some people might be different percentages, but that's kind of the aim. And yeah, I started marketing them on Etsy. We created our own website recently, and also started a Facebook group. So trying to get people on board, getting started with their budgeting journeys with this template that's super easy to use. I work and live and breathe in Excel, so I've made it super automated for people. Basically, just entering your transactions and away you go. But I know that you're going to be getting into it, Gareth, so I'll save any spoilers. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think for any of us doing that these days, I just like to know where my money's going.
Yeah,
For one, I've kind of never really rocked a budget before. Like I was trying to do the Mint thing, and Mint's kind of closing down now, so I'm looking for another way just to try and like figure out where it's going, and so that I can like reallocate it to things that I actually want to spend money on. Um, it's pretty easy to spend a ton of money going out and restaurants and booze and all those other things where I'm the happiest when I'm on one of my motorbikes or I'm traveling and hopefully doing both. So, that's like a major thing for me. And every time I'm away traveling, I'm always thinking about like how how can I make this more of my life? Like
yeah,
why does that have to be like relegated to a couple weeks a year or a month a year, or maybe if you're lucky? Why can't I just almost like pull back the fun for a bit in normal life and just like budget for the good, like what I actually want to do
yeah,
instead of having like tiny doses of fun every day, like going for a beer or whatever.
yeah.
Um, Actually set it up. So, uh, yeah, Marta, why don't you start us off here and uh, show us what you've done?
Sure. Do you want me to share my screen then?
Yeah,
All
let's
right.
get the tool up. And
I'll
so
join.
what I'll do is I'll put a link to where people can get this in the description of this video, so that you can just click straight to it and go and get going on it. So
Yeah, sounds good. You up here. There we go. Nice. Okay, so this is the budget template. This is our annual budget spreadsheet. So we have a monthly version and an annual version. This is definitely like my pride and joy. It has a lot of tabs. I think it has 17 in total. But yeah, like pretty simple to use once you get the hang of it. We have this budget categories tab where basically you get in and start setting up your budget. So you would note what accounts you want to track, your income sources, whether or not they're fixed or variable. So like fixed would be your salary, variable would be any side hustle income that you have, and then basically just inputting what your amounts are. So $1,000 a month, you can pull that through and oops, I went a bit too far. And there we go. And then everything just kind of starts calculating automatically. So you can start adding in your income sources. And just as I mentioned before, it's set up by needs, wants, and savings and debt. So that's kind of how I have everything grouped. But here you can add in your needs. So, it would be like rent, gas, groceries, that sort of thing. And then you would start noting, okay, these are fixed costs versus variable, and you can start actually categorizing these different needs, and then again starting to build your budgeted amount. So yeah, you would go.
So Marta, what's a good way to okay, just quick describe fixed versus variable. So fixed, we know like rent, it's $1,500 every month. So we know that that's going to be reasonably the same. Whereas gas is variable. Yeah. So in the winter, my bike's off the road. So I'm just putting gas in the truck. So I know that sort of April to July, I'll spend more on gas. So
Yeah.
I'll try to guesstimate that or based it on last year or.
Yeah, like what I would typically do for any of the variable expenses is look at an average. So I'd be like, okay, on average, I'm putting in, say, $200 a month on gas. For groceries, like we've got a family of three, we're doing probably around like between 1,000 and 1,500. So say 1,250 kind of thing. And we just average it for the month. It's like, it's so hard to know, right? Like some months are different, but at least just having some amounts in there. Whereas, yeah, with the fixed stuff, you know that you're for sure going to be paying, say, 3,000 a month in rent, and then you can just kind of pull it across straight line.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, those would be your needs, and so yeah, like these are like those must-haves things in your life, right? Like things that you cannot live without. Whereas wants, obviously, these are things that you would like to have or want to have. These are things that could get cut out, perhaps.
They're not motorcycle parts.
Yeah, no, those would definitely go in needs, for sure.
Needs categories.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, yeah, here, I mean, in terms of some of the wants that I have, like in terms of fixed ones, like it would be like subscriptions. So we have like our Netflix, we have Apple TV, we have like other subscriptions like Google Drive, yada yada. Like that all kind of goes along with like the fixed wants. Or like a gym membership could be a want or it could be a need. It just depends on how you want to break it up. Whereas like more variable ones would be eating out or drinking or shopping. Those are the things that are, again, a bit more variable in nature, but certainly something that you can cut back on or trim if you need to.
So I suppose you can bounce backwards and forwards between the two. So
Yeah.
like say, for example, I wonder if we should just do it, Marta, is like let's put in a couple accounts.
Yeah.
Let's put in some debts, I did a little bit of research earlier just on the sort of the average income versus average rents. So if we did down, so about average income for Canada is like about $60,000 a year after tax.
Yeah.
So $5,000 a month
or pre-tax?
after tax on that one. It's It's a little bit more than average. I banked it on about 85 grand,
Okay.
given
So
that if you're riding motorcycles.
we could put 5K for the
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
5K each month.
Yeah.
And then what was the total that you saw for rent? Was it around 3 or 2.5?
Let's go to 2,200 bucks, and that'll be like a nice average across Canada for like a 1 bedroom starter place.
Yeah, so that's that. So, say we want to do gas. Depends on what kind of vehicle you have.
Yeah. No.
I'll just do 200.
Okay.
Groceries, let's put 1,000. Yeah, and so you can see above, it starts actually like mapping out um what your needs are as a percentage
Mhm.
of your income. So like right now we're seeing it's around 68%.
Cool.
Yeah. And then if we want to throw on ones, so like I would do Netflix. And again, you can use like the drop down or you can just type in fixed. That works too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think ours is like 23 bucks a month. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Um, and then we'll do like eating out, shopping, and then variable, say 300. It's probably too little, but depends on who you are, I guess. And then
Yeah.
300. I do need to put bike parts in there too, so
Yeah.
I will throw those in. I'll throw them in under needs because they're necessary.
We're putting these by parts and needs for sure.
And do you want like a fixed amount? Like I'm gonna buy 500 a month.
Well, I feel like if we budget 500 bucks a month, then we'll be able to buy some stuff in the summer.
We'll call it variable,
Okay.
and we'll say 500 a month.
Yeah.
So the cool thing about this too is as you're starting to budget, it also shows you how much you have left over. So here it's
Cool.
like, okay, after all these things, like say this is all that we need. We have rent, we have gas, we have groceries, we have bike parts. We're bike people. And then
Yeah.
these are the 3 wants that we have. We're good with that. We have 477 left. So we could
Okay.
throw that into savings or maybe pay off our debt. So say we have like a credit card. I'm gonna call it CC. We can put like, say we have payments of 200. I'm gonna put that there. Now we have 277. So let's call it an emergency fund.
Okay.
And we get to this nice balance of 0. And that's kind of the goal.
Okay.
Yeah, so once you have everything set up here, it all flows into all these other tabs. So um, just a quick little review. We have this year in review tab, which is awesome. I actually use this tab for planning out 2024 with my 2023 numbers. But as you start to go through the year, you can select budget or actual, and it'll show all of your amounts by month, which is like awesome, but at the same time, it can be quite daunting.
Right.
For me, it was very apparent that I have an Amazon addiction, and it created a dry January for me in terms of Amazon. So that was fun slash not. Year-to-date actuals tab, which is awesome. Also, once you start going through the year, because you could select what month you want to see all your spend to, and then everything adjusts here automatically. So you can see, oh, how much have I spent up until July, for example.
Okay. So it's okay.
Yeah.
You
And
can
then
see how you're doing during the year. You can course correct if you need to.
exactly.
Okay.
And then yeah, again, like everything just kind of flows through. So you don't have to enter anything. Everything is locked. So there's no risk of deleting any formulas. It's all like very protected. So you really just have to enter in your budget and then enter in your transactions. So I'll show this on the next tab under January, and then we have all these other months. You can see exactly like what your budget is. And you can notice here that there's 0 in actuals. And that's because you need to enter them here in this transaction tracker. So I actually didn't set up my accounts, but let me just add those real quick. So I'll say checking, I'll say credit card. So here you would note like what account it's coming from. And this isn't mandatory, but it's just kind of nice to see where that flow is.
Right.
I would add my date. So say the 23rd of January. Let's say this is my rent payment. We said 2,200,
Yeah.
right? And then here I start to categorize it. So I go through the drop down. I'm like, okay, that's my need, and that's rent. And so once I do
Okay.
this, everything starts updating automatically. You can see that it's pulled through here.
Right.
But there's zero difference because, well, it's a fixed payment and you know exactly what you're paying for. So say for example, I want to do groceries, just as a quick one. Let's just put in a different date for fun. Groceries. Let's say I did a $200 shop, need groceries.
Okay.
So now we can see $200 has been added here. So we have 800 bucks left. You can quickly see like where you're at,
Yeah.
which is super useful. You can also see like how much you have left to earn. So we said we're going to be earning 5 grand. We still haven't had a paycheck yet in terms of this budget. We still have 5 grand left to earn.
Yeah.
We can see like what our actual balance is. We've actually spent more than we've earned. So we're actually at a negative $2,400 balance.
Right.
But once we earn some money and put that in the tracker, it's going to be in a positive position. Yeah, so you can kind of see like where you're at. This toolbar is really useful for that. You can see when your last posted transaction was. You can see what your breakdown between needs, wants, and savings is. Progress to budget. So you can see like we're already getting pretty close to that fixed needs budget. Anything that's over budget expenses, and then that's fixed versus variable.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I guess as the year goes, would you go back and change budget?
I typically wouldn't.
Okay.
Like go back into prior months and be like, oh, I actually spent like 1,500 bucks on groceries instead of 1,000, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, I would just keep it as is. Like I like to see exactly what happened, and how close I was. And then I typically just like adjust through the year. So like we would create a budget for the full year, but like it's
Mhm.
not set in stone for us per se. We sometimes go and like course correct. Like say for example, if like, a trip comes up, we might add some more dollars to travel.
Mm.
And then maybe like reduce what we're putting into savings.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
also like use different funds. So we actually put money into travel funds or into a
Mm.
travel fund. So then we draw from that. And yeah, we just kind of adjust as we go, but we kind of have like a baseline idea of how much we want to spend, how much we want to save, in all the different areas that we've noted.
So, for example, if I said like, okay, so I want to travel in like June, but I want to assign, I want to keep 500 bucks each month towards travel so that I know I've got enough
Yeah.
money come June.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
how would I do that? Like,
Totally. So what you could do is have that as a fund. So you could have travel, and
mm,
then you're saying that you're gonna put 500 bucks away
yeah,
until June, right? So
yeah,
let's throw that in there. So by end of June, you'll have 3 grand.
okay,
What I would then also do is as you're making this transfer, or like, I don't know, it depends on how people are managing it, but I typically have different accounts for different things. Like I don't keep my savings money in my checking account. So I would actually move it.
mm,
So you would see a transaction at, probably do it at the end of the month. Um, transfer to travel fund. And here I would note
mm,
500 bucks. I would put this under savings and I would put that under travel. And so then you can see here that it's actually being drawn out of your actual balance.
okay.
And then what I would end up doing in June, after all of this is done for every month, is I would draw from it. So then what would end up happening is, actually, I'll just do it in July. I would do like a negative 3,000 because it's kind of like in and then out.
Okay.
And that's how,
Just very
yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
Hmm. Okay, so that's if you wanted to really like get into the nitty gritty. I mean, you
yeah,
could just have a
that's
savings fund that you just draw into, I guess.
yeah,
You just, I guess you wouldn't, you just budget more into savings. Yeah, you just pull it from savings.
just draw it down. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's
so
pretty cool.
that's how we would go about it. Um, that's a really great question because again, everyone kind of does these things differently.
Mhm.
That's what's worked for us.
So now, I know I asked you this question earlier, but for viewers and people want to know, like on my bank account, I can say export all my transactions as a
Yeah,
CSV file.
yeah,
Um, like what's an easy way to get that in? And just copy and paste that out.
yeah, for sure. So that's something that I actually note here. You can manually add them or you can copy and paste them. So the way that we've set this up is actually fairly in line with how a lot of the bank CSVs look. Usually it's like a date, description, and amount. And so you
Yeah,
can basically export that into a CSV or what would end up in Excel and just
yeah,
copy and paste it right into this section. And then you
right.
have like, yeah, all of your transactions here, you'd have to note the account still and the
Yeah.
category, but at least that part is done for you.
So then, when you do that, I suppose if you export it from a checking account, you could just hit checking and then drag checking all the way.
Yep.
Could, yeah, you could do
Yeah,
that too, right?
absolutely. Yep, you can just drag it.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's how we would do it.
yeah, make it
We
easier.
typically we try to update it weekly. So we usually
Yeah,
do it I like to do it on Fridays because then it kind of sets you up for the weekend. Either in a good way or a bad way. But just so you know what you're up against. And so yeah, we'll just do like a download of those latest transactions between those days and copy and paste
yeah,
them. We also added in some errors. So say for example, you end up with like a duplicate transaction, like you've entered
yeah.
an accident. And I'll just show you an example here. It'll start flagging it right
Oh,
here, which is
okay.
really,
Something
really
that.
helpful. So then oh no, like I've entered 2 rent payments. I actually had 1. So
Yeah.
you can just delete it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's real nice. And I'll say that, like on my Mint app that I was using, sometimes it would double transactions. Um, and it always had problems linking to my bank account. So
Yeah.
it was like really helpful when it worked, but
Yeah.
when it didn't work, it was like, oh no.
Yeah, there's a lot of like privacy and security behind that. That
Mhm,
was something that we thought about actually. Like, we're like it'd be amazing to turn this into an app.
mhm,
And Jeff had looked into it, and it's really, really tough because
mhm.
you essentially have to log in every single time. And the
Yeah,
fact that like people have lots of credit cards, lots of accounts.
yeah,
We certainly use many banks for different things. It's a pain. So
yeah,
yeah, just kind of stuck with this. Like, you still have to enter it manually or copy and paste and categorize yourself. But
yeah,
there's something about this. It's like almost like journaling on paper,
yeah,
right? Like there's just something about this that like really helps you understand exactly like where your money is going rather than it just happening on an app. So
yes.
we
Yeah.
really like just like the practice of this. And I feel like it has helped us stay on track, that's for sure.
Mhm. Interesting. So then, does sort of the budget, I guess, it'll be on your year to date stuff where, okay, you overshot it this month. Um, But are you still looking okay? Or you're low this month and high next month, or however?
Yeah, so like you would be able to see that in your year-to-date actuals. So
Yeah.
and obviously it would be good to have some more data in here. But like you
Yeah.
could see like exactly how you're doing compared to like that total budget
Yeah.
between January and March. Um, in terms of how you're doing versus the budget each month, you still kind of have to go through the tabs to see like, did you overshoot? Here we had a budgeted balance of minus 500 because I put 500 towards travel.
Yeah.
My actual balance is negative 2,900. So this is kind of a good gauge. Usually what we do is we look at this at the end of the month and we're like, okay, what was our actual versus what was our budgeted?
Yeah.
And that's kind of a good gauge to see like exactly how we did. But then this will be super helpful in terms of, okay, like how did you do actually? And you can kind of see that quickly here. Okay, I had a negative 500, but I actually ended up at say negative 2,900. What do I need to do for next month? Or maybe not do for next month in order to like make sure that that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Hmm.
Are those all of the tabs? What about the shrinking
No,
funds?
no, no, there are more. There's way more.
But
So
wait.
yeah, sinking funds, it's kind of like savings funds. It's basically savings that you set aside for planned expenses. So like this would be like travel or like home reno or maybe bike parts. Maybe you want like a bike parts fund that you put money
Yeah.
towards to like, hit up some Black Friday deals or something at the end of the year. So here you could track your contributions as well. I mean, we're also doing that in the January or like the monthly tabs, but this is just
Yeah.
kind of another place where you can track it. And then you can also track your progress, which is pretty neat. So say for example, my goal for travel is 10K for the year, and I'm saying I'm going to contribute 500. It tells you how many months are required to hit that goal.
Okay.
Yeah, and how many
Oh,
months are left. So like all of this starts to fill out as you add in your contributions.
nice.
Yeah. So that's that. And then there's also this debt reduction tracker. So um, for example, like I had included the credit card debt. And so say I wanted to start today paying that off. And my monthly amount is, I think I said 200. And I'm going to throw 4,000 against my debt to begin with.
Mm.
Say I've been a little bad and I've been buying a lot of bike parts that maybe I should have eased off on, but I was using my credit card. Um,
Okay.
Here I've got a credit card balance of 10 grand. My minimum payment is 200. My interest rate is, what is it, 22%? It actually starts to show you like how long it's going to take you to pay off that debt.
Wow.
And this is using the snowball method. So say, for example, I also had another debt of uh, car payments or like car loan or something like that.
Hmm.
And it's going to say that this is like $100 and then throw in 10,000 and then throw in 5 grand.
Okay.
So this is 5 grand. This is 100. My interest rate on this one is 5%. So it shows you um, essentially like how long it would take to pay this one off after you're done paying this one off. So it's kind of this like snowball method.
Okay.
Yeah. And I just realized I did this wrong because typically you should start with your lowest to largest, but um, yeah, you would start with like your cart loan and then your credit card. But in this case, I mean, 22%, we kind of want to get rid of that first. So
For sure.
you can play around with this and see what makes sense for you.
Yeah.
And you
Mhm.
kind of see like a cool graph of like exactly how fast each one of them is going to get paid off. And then it shows you what those balances are based off that interest as well.
Yeah, crazy. So that's doing all your calculations for you, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, so like essentially anything that's white, you can enter. Anything
Yeah,
that white space, and then everything else is
pull through.
basically, yeah, foolproof and automated and doing it for you.
And so that's all pulling from the budget sheet at the bottom there.
Pardon me?
It's pulling from the budget sheet to get
Yeah, yeah,
those
some of this
names.
information is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's more of,
Cool.
yeah, more of a calculator. So like you still do have to enter in some things, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, because you would need to put in your interest rates and all that stuff
yeah,
and what you're supposed to be paying. Yeah.
yeah.
So then does that pull back into your budgets for each month,
You
or is it?
you would still have to add in like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm putting in like the $200 against my credit card, the $100.
Yeah.
You still have to add these transactions in, but
Yeah.
then it all feeds into your year in review, your year to date actuals.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's more of like a calculator on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a little bit of duplication in terms of entry. Like this right here, what we're looking at is the bread and butter. This is more of like additional trackers and calculators
Yeah.
to help you on your way if you want to reach some of these goals.
Yes. Yeah, because I mean, yeah, the interest is a lot of the time it is what it is. So even if you didn't use any of those trackers and you still said, okay, well, I have a car payment of $800 a month, you need that in every month.
Yeah,
Uh, and yeah, kind of away you go. Like,
yeah, exactly. It's fixed and technically that should be taken care of before the savings hit.
mhm.
Yeah.
Well, Marta, this has been absolutely fantastic. I think I'm more prepared. Well, there's a lot of work to get like going on this, but it seems
Yeah,
fairly simple from this video to get to it. It's just one of those things where you have to like put your mind into it and commit
yeah,
to doing something that's going to help you into the future. And that's always like a hard change for like a person like me. And actually, I think a lot of motorcyclists is about having structure. And my natural being says I don't want structure. I want freedom. And that's the whole motorcycle culture. But if I'm able to budget well, I can extend that freedom. I
exactly.
can ride further. I can travel further. I can do things that I want to do. So my whole like year in review and like my goals for 2024 is to be more structured and to be more disciplined so that I can focus on the things that I actually want to do.
Yeah. It's like try to focus on that long-term
Yeah.
goal instead of those short term, as you're saying, like little spurts of like,
Yeah.
oh, here I'm gonna go out for a drink or
Yeah.
dinner or whatever. But again, to each their own.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with you. It's like if you by putting some of the structure in place that there may be like internal resistance to, you
Mhm.
are in fact creating more freedom for yourself, probably
Yes.
mentally, because it's like, hey, this stuff is
Yeah.
in check. Now I don't have to think about it. There's that mental space. That's freedom itself. And then the freedom to be able to do more biking, more traveling, like more of the things that you love to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, cool. Thanks so much.
Yeah. No problem at all.
So, Budget Maven on Instagram, and I will link the website where you can go and purchase what you just saw, and support Marta. And we'll see you soon.
Sounds good. See you guys. Thank you. Thank you, Gareth.
Ciao.